In India we have a saying like that, you see, and if you go on pouring, water, and then it must go into a vessel, isn't it? So I want you to decide whether you want to go on with what I may have simply to go on saying, or rather you want me to say something which you would like to hear.
We'd like to hear what you were saying.
Well, what I say might be, I might go on saying and then it must come to some grips, come to grips with something. Well, before we come to grips with something, I may have to say something, and not that I have. It's such a lot that I thought it was better not to embarrass you by unnecessarily prolonging what was not relevant, to what we are all seeking. If the mind that is at work here in this place or in USA, it must seek, and then if something is answer to that seeking, then it would be nice. Of course, one can always make out a case for something which he wants other people to understand rationally. It is quite possible to convince or make an effort at convincing by reasoning or by by grounds which might appeal to reason. You see, it's quite possible, and that way one can make out some case. Well, I will try something, and then let us see whether that evokes some response. I was thinking today of speaking on the new age. You see, there is so much in the air today about new age. Many efforts are made by people in various departments of life to think in terms of a new age. And this new age is an age in which people think that something new must happen, because otherwise it won't be new age. Now, what is that new thing going to happen or should happen? About that, there is no agreement. And so many diverse efforts are made which indicate that something is at work. People are, being subjected to a process of rethinking of values, and in that there is plenty of new effort, but also plenty of confusion at work because they don't come to grip with fundamental factors that should be tackled. The effort is new age, and what is the new age going to be like? Then there is a confusion, you see, and there is one that is very striking: atomic age. It is a new age of nuclear physics, or space age, or astronaut, and so on. But really speaking, it is not new. That cannot be said to usher in the new age. That happened 13 years back at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Atom bomb was thrown. New age they are talking of now. So new age is not merely, and what does it deal with ultimately? Discovery of science. Now, discovery of science means tackling matter and material energy is being done for 150 years. And new discoveries, new possibilities of matter are being sounded and effectively applied to life. It is, you see, steam engine, then electricity, then all kinds of new things. It is not new age in the sense that something, yes, you came to, or humanity came to discover an immense, or you can say an infinite reservoir of material power at a certain stage. But it did not do anything new, it was matter. You are dealing, humanity or human mind, particularly the scientists, were dealing only with matter and discovery of material energy. Where was any new age in it? My point is, what was new? You discover there was a lot of reservoir power. Oil was there, petrol was there, fire was there, steam was there, electricity was there, magnetism was there. All kinds of energies were there, isn't it? All kinds of energy, material energy, were at the service of man, and he was discovering. In that, he came to a point where he discovered immense reservoir of great power at his disposal. What new thing he did? He is dealing with matter up till now. And in that matter, you see, effectivity of material discovery effectivity of steam was there, of electricity was there, of radio, motion movement was there. So all the quicker and greater means of transport or intercommunication were all the time there. A degree was reached when an immense reservoir of material power, which man can utilize for good or evil, was found. That does not make a new age in the sense of something new was discovered. Nothing new was discovered, a new potentiality of matter. The deeper and deeper as man went on with his scientific discoveries and experiment, he came to a place or a point of discovery where he found an immense reservoir of material power available to him. Now he can use it for good or evil. This does not make it a new age. He used also his hatchet and sword for good and evil. He used his steam engine for good and evil. He used his, his old banduk, as you call it, for good and evil. And now he can use his atomic power for good and evil. Where is the new age? Merely in scientific discovery. Pure scientific discovery does not usher in the new age at all. That is my contention. And therefore, all these people, there are people who always say that, oh, you see, living in an atomic age. It was Bertrand Russell who said that. You see, 6 broadcasts from London. And the discovery is absolutely without any solution. Living in an atomic age, what is man going to do in the living in an atomic age? He said, oh, if you rationalize the atomic energy, yes, but who is to rationalize? Who? Bertrand Russell? Politicians? Social workers? Philosophers? Who? That is the problem. You see, you say rationalize, but who is to rationalize? And that means human nature. Then you have to tackle human nature. About that, he has no remedy. Atomic energy or atomic age is not going to change man's nature. He is going to make him fright, make him afraid. And because of fear, he wants only to preserve peace. He doesn't want to do anything new. You see, the new age cannot be said to be ushered in with only atomic discovery. That is my first point today. Second point that I would like to is that yes, the new age consists in a greater communication between man and man, between nations and nations, between continents and continents, and therefore a greater understanding of each other and the tolerance and a sort of sympathy also at work, and more and more human being wants to arrive at a what you call a common multiple, or as you call it, the common factor of mankind, and say that all men are ultimately the same and constitution of man is the same, though outer life or society or belief or behavior may differ, but fundamentally man is one, and this unity of mankind is being made more real, being pressed. It was coming partly. League of Nations was the first effort, isn't it? After the First World War, the League of Nations was the first effort to make the unity of mankind a reality on the political field. Well, our second effort also was made. The meeting of the International Labour, Organization and conferences, or where under suppressed nations or free nations that were not free, in an organization to plead for their freedom, or international communists, trying to make international organizations, trying to bring humanity together on some plan had been done. Were going on for the last 25 years. Since 1918, League of Nations was there. So since that time, the idea is slowly working out. This coming of men together, or quicker communication by air and by radio and so on, does not introduce a period or a movement in human life which can be called a new age. I do not suppose it simply becomes a new age because men are being more and more brought together. They were being brought together on different valuations before, subject race and the rulers, or the more advanced and the backwardness. That way people were always being brought together. When did somebody went to Africa to make the African continent open to outside public or outside the world? 17th and 18th century, 18th century, 17th to 18th century, isn't it? Since that time, people have been, of course, there was a slow communication. But whatever quick means was available, man did use at that time. He didn't hesitate to use the quicker means. At that time, even though the general movement was slower than it is now. So that coming together is not something so new as to say that we are in the midst of a period when you can say that we are ushering a new age. There is another idea which is also at work, and that is that this new age is the modern age of Western culture in which there is a great complexity at work. And this age is a age of complexity that is not very new. It is a gradually increasing degree of complexity is coming into life with the progress in science and application to life. More and more man has progressed in science and applied scientific discovery to life. Life has tended to become more and more complex. From simple family unit when it went on enlarging, increasing the collective life and attained the collective consciousness of the nation, and then as a collective unit, the nation, applied scientific discoveries to life on a collective scale, life tended to become more and more complex. So that now increasing complexity is taken almost by some people as a sign of new age. That if you are not, up to date in the equipment of your city or village or house, with the newest and latest appliances of life, which makes life more comfortable and therefore more complex, you are not advanced. You are not in the new age. You are living in the 17th or 18th century, they would say. Now, this also is a half true conception of the new age that is coming. I am trying to find out and trying to make the house understand uh, how to look at this problem of what should consist the new age. You see, see how this new age came, or the idea of the new age. If you observe that, then you might come to some understanding of the factors which we must take into consideration to define the new age in its detail or in its fundamentals. 25 years back, nobody thought of the new age. About 30 years back, new age came when the Western culture, which was burdened with what they call the white man's burden for 150 years, thought itself at the top of human culture and thought this was the highest culture in mankind. And they went on with that idea, half right idea. It is not altogether a false idea. There is some truth in that idea. So, with that idea, they went on working. And when it led to one crisis and two crises within a generation, and the second crisis more acute, then this idea of new ages dawned. New idea nobody thought of before the two world wars. The First World War was sufficient to shake a little. But it is the Second World War within a generation that gave them the idea that we must now think of the new age. So that there, all the three combined, the scientific advance and atomic energy, a new balance of political and social and economic power had to come into existence as a result of the two world wars. It could not continue on the old scale. How did the idea of the very conception of this new age come? It came because three or four factors were combined. First was, yes, scientific discovery was there. But when it was applied on a national scale to fulfill the economic prosperity of nations, and nations had to compete in order to get raw markets and materials and materials for manufacture and so on, the industrial revolution, when collective life was centered around economy, and as a result of economic prosperity being kept up, politics was necessarily connected with economic progress. So economic progress allied to political power created a situation in which collective life, national existence became competitive. And as the world was limited, the earth was small, markets were limited, raw materials also, the fields for getting raw materials were limited. Naturally, there came a point not only of competition but of conflict. And it is the coming of two conflicts within a generation that first factor, atomic energy and scientific discovery. Secondly, the necessity of changing the balance of economic and political power. These two crashes or two crises created the need in the whole human race to change the balance of power that was at work, balance of economic and political power particularly. Two, and thirdly, as a result of the two clashes, the established values of life in individual and collective life underwent what you might be called a churning process. A bouleversement, as they call it in French, is a complete upsetting of accepted values, values which are accepted for 150 years, values which made them think these are highest and final values. Well, they were uprooted so completely that there was need for reconsidering the whole basis of human culture, human life, and in what consists man's fulfillment on earth. So a psychological churning of men's minds on account of two crises which came on because of the scientific progress applied to life, collective life organized around economy as a central focal point or force, conflict because competition and basing of the whole collective life around economics and politics created necessity of competition and conflict, and the conflict led to breaking up of all the values of human life, highest as well as lowest. Everything was topsy-turvy. I can still not forget meeting an old Frenchman, a friend of ours, he's 67 or so, almost my age. When he came back out, I met him and told him, how do you find? Oh, he was a very, very fine soul, you see, very nice, religious man in a certain sense, not religion in the old conventional sense of the term, but a spirit which was. I asked him, he said, oh, nothing, nothing. I said, what is nothing? It's all nothing. I said, why? Oh, no, nothing matters. He said, what? Why? I said, why? He had lost faith in man. He told me after what I have seen, what man could do to man, I can't believe, my mind refuses to believe that any possible, ideal can exist for man, or that man can attain to a state where he would be better than animals. I told him, look here, there's no point in losing faith like that. Human spirit has to undergo crisis. I mean, it might be that the appearance might be very hard and cruel to bear, but then you must bank upon something deeper than mind. You cannot simply say that because mind is not able to tackle the problem, therefore there is nothing in man which can tackle the problem. There is immense reservoir of spiritual power in man which can tackle this problem, and you cannot afford to lose faith in that. You can lose faith in your mind if you like, but you can't afford to lose faith in the spirit of man, because then there is no hope for anything in life. But it was very difficult to convince him. I am trying to convey to you the great upset of psychological constitution that came in the wake of this outer shaking in politics and economics and international life. It was not merely shaking of the empires and frontiers of countries, you see. It was not merely the firing of shots on the battlefield. It was firing of shots on the inner life also, where faith and morality and ethics and idealism and everything also was shot at, you see. And that a lot of churning had to take place to reconsider. That is perhaps some idea which might have prompted the necessity of the new age. So the new age cannot be only, you see, what happened as the result of churning. First, the scientists came on the scene with men like Bertrand Russell, and he said atomic energy is the last word, there is nothing more. Why do you bother your head about anything? You rationalize if you like, otherwise kill yourself, don't mind. There were others who became existentials, you see, existentialists, technically. Existentialist means, well, being matters, values have no place. Being is important, then what is good and bad and high and low, that's nothing. To be is the first thing, and being it is that matters, and so you act on the principle that, well, being acts. The present is everything, past is gone, the future is uncertain and beyond comprehension. Therefore what happens in the present is the action of the eternal. That's how they would put it, perhaps. I don't know whether I'm right. But anyway, that is the way in which they have been trying to work out. This was a reaction due to the war. Some intellectual French people and other people are put into jail. And they had never seen what was suffering. They had inflicted enough suffering in Africa and other countries, you see, but they never seen it on themselves. It is the first time when they were put in concentration camp that they knew what is suffering. As a reaction, existential. Oh, nothing matters, nothing. It mattered a lot. 100 years before, you had done the same thing to other people. You didn't know. You were unconscious. Not that you were bad or cruel. You didn't know what was happening to other people. When it happened to you, you came to know, oh, this is this. Then existential, oh, nothing is there. Only values are. What to be is important. Well, high and low and good and bad and moral and immoral, all that is nothing. Be. And man will want to be. Will to live. And the will to live acts in the present. Therefore, present it is that matters. Values are of no importance. That is how they started. And ultimately, that highest truth, if it is the eternal, must act in the present. Is it too much of a command to the eternal, first of all? What acts in the eternal? What acts in the present? You say to be. Which part of man is to be? His animal part. To be, all right, we grant to be. Who? Who is to be? You see the animal existence of man to continue. Only his ideas, impulses, emotions, suggestions in mind. Well, if you say that is to be, and that is the highest philosophy of life, I don't know whether man will be, qualified to be to the dignified name of the human being, because it reduces man to what? Because if to be is important, and what comes? Well, acts. Is man, sufficiently man if he allows what comes in him to act? Will he be correct? To be, sometimes not to be is the greater right of man. Not to be, in face of a greater truth which is at stake, man will risk his life for freedom. It's not to be. So it's not merely to be. To be for what? That is the whole question, and they have not been able to clear it. Is simply because it came as a reaction of suffering at a certain stage in human history, that this sort of philosophy always goes into the world, and people think, oh, it's a new philosophy. There is nothing new in this philosophy. It is as old as the hills of the Himalayas, you see. But the point was that the coming of the new age idea is due to these two world wars. Now, the problem is, how is it, how those people who look at the question of new age want to usher it in or want to serve it. There are people who say that the question is, will mind be able to usher in this new age? If it is the new age, and as a result of churning, will mind be able to solve this problem? Well, it looks, there are efforts, there are groups who say that no, you sit down and have good thoughts in your mind, you concentrate your mind, and have sympathy for all, goodwill for mankind, try to maintain peace in yourself and around. And it is certainly a very good effort, because it helps the ultimate coming in of any new age, if it is to come. It is certainly a great help. Is mind a sufficient instrument for this purpose? That is the problem. Problem is, would intellect of man be able to solve this problem of bringing in whatever new age might be on the threshold or in the house? You see, if the new age is in the offing, will it be the mind that will be able to bring it? Well, till now, as I told you the other day also, that the mind has been at work. And mind has worked in humanity for more than 2,600 years. Historically speaking, mind is at work for 2,600 years. And it has not solved radically any problem of man. It has helped man to continue to go on to some new possibilities of matter, science, commerce, industry, progress, idealism, novels, literature, many things it has done, and brought about where we are. In that sense, we have progressed, yes, but it has not solved a problem. It has moved It is movement. It is acting all the time and moving. But moving on what plane and where? It is moving on its own plane. Mind is moving on the plane of mind. Today one idea, then tomorrow another idea, third idea, and the fourth idea. It is only moving. It is not giving us an idea that now, yes, on this basis we can build a new life. No, it says no, constantly go on changing the basis, changing the basis. Well, that way we cannot bring in any new age. This is old. This is as old as the Greek culture. In the Greek culture, there was intellect, and a keen intellect, comprehensive intellect, wide intellect that could tackle all human problems of being and philosophical problems of life. The Greeks were not, a backward nation. It is, in fact, the Greek culture is at the base of European culture today. The whole root of European culture is in Greece. So far advanced for 2,600 years back. Now, with that intellect, well, man has made what of himself what he is individually and collectively. You can say, yes, certainly there is great progress. We will all admit we have progressed. But have we built up on a basis where we can say, well, a certain problem has been solved by mind? We have been moving with problems, with an attempt at solution, seeking, and that seeking itself has widened the capacity of mind and brought about a wide, consciousness in mind, made man feel oneness with his nation, oneness now with humanity, an effort at wideness is going on. But it has not solved a problem in the sense that now, all right, let us build our culture on this basis. That sort of solution, the mind, if you say, no, let us base our culture on constantly moving mental effort, well, it's all right, quite possible to do so. Quite possible to do so. In that case, we must be prepared for recurring crisis. We should be prepared for recurring crisis. If we are going to be ready for recurring crisis, we have no objection to say that would hardly be a new age. That would be hardly new age. It would be the same old stuff. Go on, and crisis will go on recurring. That's all. Nothing wrong. It's all right. If humanity says that this is the best instrument available to man, it is open to humanity to go on trying it. There are other agencies that say that if we move on international political scale, perhaps we might be able to solve this problem. If we bring about a greater rationalizing of economic life of humanity, just as the atomic energy people tell us, so the same for international politics or economic redistribution of the wealth of the nations or wealth of humanity, if it is evenly distributed, rationally distributed, perhaps there will be what you might call a new age possible. Perhaps, yes. The third problem that we can try to look into is whether above and over the intellectual capacity of man, over and above his collective efforts of international life, economic life, and so on, other aspects of his collective being, which can help him to tackle his present problem, whether man has other potentialities in him or not. Has man other potentialities than his body, his life, and his mind? Well, that's an important question. Because till now that has been always relegated to the background as something unimportant. But that always the people who are busy with something which to them appears most important, they will always say like that, oh no, just now that is not important. These people are actually saying the new age, even they are telling that what can we do in the new age? What we can do is to sit down for 5 minutes and concentrate and see if our desire for peace. I'll just read to you a passage of somebody who are trying to make this new age. Exactly the new age is there, you see. And he is saying, nearly all feel that they have so much to do. Their lives are so complicated. There is so little privacy today. And the demands of work and family leave so little spare time and energy that although they realize the value of a time for meditation each day, they feel that they cannot undertake it. These difficulties are real. Well, I said that is exactly the problem. Are we going to accept this position? This culture must change. Not you somehow accommodate and say, no, no, this will go. This cannot and should not go on if new age is to come. Why man is not free? What makes him a slave of this condition? I am reading from somebody who has written from here, you see. The whole organization and machinery of modern living takes no account at all of the rights of the inner life. We want to create a life in which the right of inner life will be first. Then it will be some chance of doing a new age. What is this life? Which leaves you no room for, I am reading somebody who has written in this country. Yes. Takes no account at all of the right of the inner life, and so the whole trend is present is against it. We must change the trend if new age is to come. There is no meaning in any palliative. Let them try. Those who say, sit down 5 minutes, in this horrible time you will be crushed, but still, yes, some effort is good than no, better than no effort. Well-intentioned effort is never totally lost. You see, but it is a palliative. It is like somebody who applies somebody here. All right, there is a boil here, apply something. Then the boil goes here. Then you say, no, no, apply here. All right, apply. Better apply something than apply nothing. Quite right. If the blood is at fault, you must radically apply the remedy there. What's the use of trying a palliative? What is the use of compromising with this situation in which the human spirit has no freedom to follow its inner life and inner incentive and aspiration? It's a culture that must change. It is something that must undergo a change if humanity is to realize and rise to its highest fulfillment, which is promised to it, which is within its deepest soul. It is not something imposed on man. It is a writing of suffering. He is not acquiescing in it. The writer doesn't say it is very nice. He feels the galling sense of slavery. This subjection of human spirit has to go. And it is this culture that is bringing it about. The whole collective trend is grinding man, the inner life of man. And it is that somehow has to undergo a change. You see, against it, but the inner life strongly enough and really intend to give it some time, we can usually find a way. What is this? That must be put in the first priority of life. It is a structure of individual and collective life in which man will create a new mold of life in which he will utilize science and its progress, utilize the advance of collective life for pursuing the highest goal of his inner life. Inner life will be the highest priority and value of life. Economy will be in its proper place, organized. Economy will not be neglected. People will not be renounced. They will not run away from life. They will not say life is condemned. All economic progress will be in its proper place. Not economy in the center of collective life. And the rich man is the highest human being that man could conceive. But that is the problem. The new age cannot come under present conditions. Under these conditions where he actually admits, poor man, that you see there is no chance of man trying. What is the structure that man has created? Right? What is this modern culture? And it is true, this is literally true in every sense of the word. 10 or 15 minutes is not enough. We have to change the whole life. Change the whole life, 10 or 15 minutes is not the job. Job is for changing the whole structure of human nature, and it's a whole-time job. Create a life in which the whole life moves around some inner goal. Man's inner progress, his inner contentment. And all science will contribute to make him free to do that. Yes. All organization will be there just to make him free to pursue that life. It will not be there that all the time the more multiplication and complication arises in the culture, the more he will be subject and every day feel, oh, I must do that, I must do that, I must do that, I must do that. And he has no time. He has no time to pursue anything else. Now that is a structure which I have seen people, you see, going up on the high building in big cities in India and here, and they look round. You see in New York or San Francisco, raise themselves and look at vast expanse of the city, and Some of them legitimately feel a sense of satisfaction and glory. Unconscious. I don't say they consciously know what they feel, but unconsciously, oh, what a wonderful thing. What a marvelous thing. How much organization has gone behind, how much progress. Quite true. How much scientific advance, how much collective life and its organization, how much abiding of law and the growth of collective responsibility. Yes, it is true. They feel a legitimate pride, I think. Unconscious, perhaps. And they feel, oh man, they don't know, but what is all this for? It's all right. What is all this for? Ultimately, where is it to lead? That never comes to their mind. Ultimately, yes, a vast city, 25 square miles, 45 square miles, all right. Everybody there having no time. Right. Getting up 6 o'clock or 7 in the morning, dressing at once, going. Whole day, coming back. You ask him, will you please, I have no time. All right. There are friends who actually are keenly interested and they say, I have come from 7,000 miles here. They say, but next week, no, next month, oh yes, next Saturday, next Sunday. What is this? Are we free? Are we free people or slaves? Are you interested? And yet, life, what is this but? Why? So getting up 7, going there, working somewhere, coming back, you just, no, I have no time. You see, oh, Saturday, perhaps Sunday, yes, we'll be free. But Sunday will be so free that there will be no, 100 people will be there, perhaps, and that Sunday will be, you see, night, 8 o'clock comes, dead tired, falls to sleep. What have you done? I want my bread, earn my clothes, have a house. What was the primitive man doing? What was the primitive man doing? You see, an illusion is there. Really, there is a progress, yes. But of that progress, to take advantage, one has to give priority in culture. You cannot have priority of culture when economy rules the whole collective life. It makes life artificial, it makes life hypocritical, it makes life vain and full of nonsense and meaningless. People come together and say what they never mean and speak platitudes and talk of climate and season. That's all they talk. You see, that's all that one. That's nothing. There is no communication. There is no real life. And it is that culture which is responsible. The values which have been upside down. You see, it is plain, however, that it is almost impossible to have ideal conditions for this thing in modern life. Well, I think that is quite enough quotation to show that the modern complexity, some people have recommended that we must have simplification of life. All these complications of machinery around, we can reduce and make it very simple. It's a palliative. They just like the other people who say, let us, instead of doing nothing, let us sit for 5 minutes for meditation and make our mind quiet. Good thing. It won't solve the problem. You see, the problem is much deeper than merely applying palliatives, because it is vast and it concerns every one of us, every one individual, collective, and unit of life. Well, so what kind of new age are we expecting? Then most people generally will reply, we want to maintain peace. Peace is the content of the new age. Peace for what? Peace for what? To continue this machine that is going on, machine that is called culture. You see, machine is simply going on and say it will go on working peacefully. Not a conflict with anything else, that's all. Then you say, no, peace for survival. No. Is survival after all the end of human existence? I'm staggered when people actually say this is the man is to survive. After all this historical development of man, from primitive stage to now, with his creation of poetry, literature, arts, morality, religion, philosophy, and ideals of life, now he has come to a point when he says, I'm going to a new age for survival. Really, it takes my breath away when I think of this, That after all these thousands of years of multiple culture with different races and cultures created, values of life, people sacrifice their lives for great ideals, for freedom, for intellectual freedom, for progress of man, for religious freedom, for divinity of man, for ideals of moral life, and all this. Ultimately, today we come to a point when we say, "Oh, it's a peace we must have for survival." Animals also survive. It doesn't look worthy of man's dignity to say that he is here bringing in a new age for peace and peace for survival. If you ask other people, you say, "No, peace is all right, but we want peace for progress." Yes, but in what will consist progress, idea of progress? Because it is a treacherous idea. People followed it in the West for 150 years. And it brought only two crises. It didn't bring any progress much more. You can say, yes, that also is a part of progress. I will also admit partly, because even some retrogression movement makes us understand why we have retrograded and how to make true progress. But really speaking, progress will have to be defined before we know what is real progress. The nature of the new age, content of the new age cannot be material. So what I'm trying to make out is that the new age will not have only the material progress at its content, will not have only peace and preservation of human species as its aim. It's not sufficiently great aim for a new age to be ushered in. If a new age is to be ushered in, it cannot be only for survival or for so-called progress in which man is not clear about what is progress. Because if progress is only intellectual movement, and it will be movement, a circle. It's again a round and round circle in which man will be moving about. So, my point is that progress must be really psychological in its content. If progress is to be true, it must consist in an inner change. And what is shaken in the last two crises is psychology of man. Highest values in individual and collective life. The standards of good, standards of of morality, standard of ideal have been all broken. And it is psychological churning that is going on. And therefore the new age must bring in a new content of human psychology. And as I said, that we have not sounded all the potentialities of the human spirit. We have a mind, we have a life, we have emotions, we have ideals, we have collective life, we have departments of knowledge, but we have not exhausted all the potentialities of the human spirit. There might be untapped resources of knowledge and power and harmony available to man within his own psychology. Content of the new age must be psychological. In India, there is a current conception that the rishi, the seer, is one who has the vision of the truth that is trying to come to mankind. The rishi is really the leader of the race, in the sense that he sees 500 or 1000 years in advance of the age in which he lives, and he sees a truth. Rishi is not one who renounces life. Rishi gives to the age in which he lives a law of life, so that the individual and collective man can prepare himself for the truth that is coming. He sees that the truth is coming. He sees that the growth of man is already towards a great reality. And he sees an aspect of the reality already in advance of his age, 500 or 1000 years advance of his age. He sees what is coming on mankind. And all that is happening today, he sees not in the light of mere mind, which can only see what is actual, what is, before one's senses, but in the light of what is trying to come, so that he understands the content of, the present by what is trying to come and what must be agitating behind the surface appearances of events. Events are to him only indications. Events are to know final realities on which he bases his judgment or vision. He sees a vision. He sees a vision of a truth. And that truth he sees working out in the present setup, so that somehow the individual and the collective life of man may be prepared to accept the truth. It is possible for man to reject it. not to have a look at it, and thus postpone the time of its coming into life. But it is only a postponement, it cannot be averted. It is bound to come. The Rishi comes to persuade people that here is a great truth coming. Let us all prepare for it so that when it comes, we are ready for it. That is a sign of the man who sees the coming of the new age. When I was in Oxford, or in Cambridge, excuse me, I was in Cambridge, I was talking to a group of friends. The what are they called? The Friends Hall, that is. What is it named? That one? They were the sect, Quakers, yes, Quakers. A friend, they invited me to address them on the 25th of November, 1955. And I was talking to them, so I said, look here, Cambridge is a very famous seat of learning. And you have the great good fortune of giving to the world great discoverers. Newton, who revolutionized the life of man on many levels. Faraday, who contributed by his discovery to the progress of man's outer life so much that even his inner life was partly influenced by his discoveries. Well, I said, here in this very Cambridge and in this very King's College where these two great scholars were, there was another great discoverer also from India. His name is Aurobindo Ghosh, and he made a discovery of human psychology. He posited by his experience and by his experiment on other people that mind is not the last term of man's evolution, that beyond mind there is a possible level of consciousness which man can attain. And if man attains to that consciousness, then the duality in which he suffers today can cease. He can live in a truth consciousness because beyond mind is the truth level. This great discovery this great man has done. And I said that you are fortunate that Cambridge seems to be the place where an Indian came and has not made discovery there, but he was an alumni of your university and he was a first class student of your university. And it is after going from here that he made this epoch making discovery, which to me conveys correctly the content of the new age. A new consciousness beyond mind is possible to man. Man can attain a consciousness which is not intellectual, subject to truth and falsehood, right and wrong, to logic and its conclusion, to the evidence only of the senses. Whatever is available, it has to take on the senses and make some generalization on it. No, this would be attainment of a level where unity is the pervading law, harmony is the law, and where knowledge and will are not at variance. There, what is known is spontaneously effective. What is effectively is always what is effective is charged with knowledge. In the mind, there is a dichotomy. Mind knows something, but the will is not adequate to turn it into a reality or an actuality. When a man acts powerfully, a very strong man, he will be very effective, but he might act from want of knowledge. Many powerful men have acted effectively, without knowledge. Many men of knowledge have remained ineffective because the will was not adequate to carry out the knowledge and make it an actuality or materialize it in life, so to say. But on the level beyond mind, knowledge and will are inseparable, indivisible, like the flame of a lamp where you cannot separate the light from the heat. You see, it is like a flame that burns, but there is no difference between the light that it gives and the heat that it emanates. It is one flame. Harmony and unity are its constant law. Therefore, conflict will be automatically eliminated, and yet life will remain. Its contact is with life. Life is the mold and field for its manifestation. And this law of unity in truth consciousness and a variety in manifestation or multiplicity in its actual working out is that which has been promised by all idealistic philosophers, you can call all founders of religion, all ideal people who have thought of the future of man and some kind of fulfillment. The ideal has been known as possible to man. There has been always an idea somewhere in the back of man's mind that such a fulfillment is possible on earth. Well, it is on this that I think that the new age or the dawn of the new age has already come, not because scientific progress has been there and we have found the atom energy, not because there is now a readjustment of politics and economic life of man, which are symptomatic of this new consciousness that must come to man and remold his life into a new well form. Now, problem is not merely to have an idea of it, but to remold life on the basis. New age would come, really we can say it has come when it has changed life. New age cannot come by ideas sitting. New age can come when life molds itself around some new truths. The new perception of man's potentiality and possibility. The new level of consciousness to be attained. That is New Age. New Age will really come only when life becomes a mold for holding the new truths which has been at work. All the struggles of collective life of man and the difficulties of individual life are due to the pressure both of the inner soul of man trying to reach the goal and the truth trying to come to man. Both are simultaneously pressing upon humanity, and that is what makes the present turmoil of life today. Turmoil of life is due to the double pressure from within the man, individual and collectively, from above by the truth consciousness which is trying to press and express itself or manifest itself in humanity. So the best that we can do is not thinking and argument and mental effort about it, but a dynamic effort from the soul. Effort from somewhere where we feel we must do, remold the life. Remold life on the basis that we live for an inner truth, for realizing the inner truth which we are. And all activities of life must be centered around that movement. Economics will be there, not to pile money, not to live luxurious life and to be idle, but to contribute to man's inner growth and be a factor so that he may maintain his body and keep his body and soul together in order that he may make inner progress toward the inner truth which he is. We do not abandon anything of life except its ignorance, its desire, its conflicts, its selfishness, its greed. That has to be rejected. The effort is to evoke the divinity that is in man. When that is awakened, then the variation in the manifestation will remain, because that is the rich exuberance of the divinity which is at work in the cosmos. Divinity is not Unitarian and poor, so that it has no capacity to multiply itself in infinitely innumerable forms. It does, it can, and it will always continue to manifest in innumerable forms and never exhaust its divinity. That is what he said in one of the lines in his great epic Savitri. The line is, prodigal of his rich divinity, or rather he referred to the divine power, and so he said, prodigal of her rich divinity, she wastes eternity on a beat of time. The divinity that is at work, the dynamic consciousness that runs the cosmos, is prodigal of its rich divinity. It is like prodigal man wasting his wealth. Divinity is prodigal of his divinity, and therefore it affords to waste eternity on a beat of time. On 1 second of time, it can afford to throw the whole of eternity away. So much is the rich content of the supreme divinity that there is no limit to its self-expression in human life, in seconds of human life. This appears like poetic exaggeration, is it not? It's not true. It's very literally true. I'll just try to show you. You take the expression only in the world of beauty. You go to a flower garden and you see a flower opens in the morning. By 2 or 4 in the afternoon in summer, it has faded already. What was the content of that expression of beauty? From where did it come? From the earth. We thought the earth and the land is very dirty, and we always look upon it as something which, well, we must clean ourselves every time. In India, we have a different conception. They say, in Indian parlance, they will say, well, what is it? Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatas Tanamandite Vishnu Patni Navastubhyam Padasparsam Kshamaswame. He says, see, what did I say? I forgot all about it. It has gone away from my mind. Yes, it is the earth as a goddess, you see, and says that you have the covering of the green fields, you see, around yourself, and the mountains are your, breasts, and you are the consort of the Supreme. Therefore, excuse me for touching with my feet. I beg your pardon for touching with my feet. That is the content of the earth is something holy. How does a rose come from this earth? How does it come? It's such a common phenomenon that we never give a thought to it. But just one moment and you will see that it is tremendous. It is something that takes you to the very, very, profundity of, what is here? What is here? Yes, of course, the gardener cuts the rose and puts it in the vase, and then the conventional decoration. That's all right. That is not communication with the spirit of beauty which is at work. Communication with the spirit of beauty comes when one awakens to this tremendous significance of what is going on. Even the most, uncared for parts of life. Then you see that opening of a flower, like the rose or the jasmine, is that something in the earth is living. Unless and until the very heart of that from which it springs had something of this essence of beauty, how could this pattern and this color and this design and moreover this fragrance could come out? The fragrance is material. Fragrance is not ethereal in the sense of suprasensual. It spreads. The earth takes a form and spreads her beauty all round as if it has now become free. It can move about. The earth, it has liberated herself from the shackles of inertness and has attained a beauty which strikes us as if it is something marvelous. And after 2 hours, you find there is no rose. And how many millions and millions of roses are going to the waste in the ocean of time? When you see, then you see, oh, what a prodigal power is at work. What a power is at work. It can afford to waste this incomparable, ineffable beauty for every day, 2 hours, finished, go. It doesn't care. Yes, prodigal of its rich divinity, it wastes eternity on a beat of time. Every second of time, the divine wastes eternity so that man, cooped up in his senses, can awaken to that which he really is. He is the divine spirit at work in the cosmos. He appears like a creature, common with the animal, common with the clod, common with the earth, mountains, and the rocks. And yet in him is a spark which is not of the earth earthly, because he does not live by bread alone. He cannot, even if he wants to. Something in him will goad him. And then he wrote a great poem on this. This is one from Savitri, but there was another. It was in oris eternum. Eternity in an instant, in an hour. It's a Latin phrase meaning in oris eternum, eternity in an hour. And in that poem he showed how the content of the whole eternity compresses itself in an hour and comes before man to be recognized as the eternal in time, as the eternal in the instant. And when that is recognized, man's assumption of his body and senses is fulfilled in the sense that he has really awakened, even in the moment of time, to the existence of something eternal around him and within him. It is that which really gives him the recognition of the eternal. The recognition of the eternal comes to him when he awakens to the eternal in the instant. How? He puts it in this way. Moment mere. In that poem, in Or is Eternal, he says, moment mere. Lone, fixed, intense, filled with the content of whole eternity. Moment mere. Out of the ring of hours that dance and die, out of the ring of 24 hours that every day come, dance and die, out of the ring of hours that dance and die, caught by the spirit in sense, moment mere, caught by the spirit in sense, out of the ring of hours that dance and die, in the greatness of a man, in music's outspread wing, in a look, in a smile, something that wanders and settles not, in nothing that was all and is found. Moment mere when you stand in the presence of a great personality, in the greatness of a man. One moment and you think, I am not in the presence of somebody who is human. In music's outspread wings, you hear a note of music and you think, oh, this can't be of the earth. Yes, in a look, in a smile. Yes. Mere look, mere smile. There are smiles and smiles. You go in a club and you see people straining hard to smile, putting all their muscles into movement so as to look smiling. Terrible. Expression with the inmost soul and becomes the richest possession of inner life. It abides for all time. That smile has nothing to do with age, nothing to do with time, nothing to do with space. It is there in the inner life, fixed forever. Looks, that was not earthly smile. That was something from somewhere. In a look, in a smile, something that wanders and settles not. It goes on wandering like that till it is caught by the spirit in sense. It is a mere nothing if you look at it from outside. Nothing. And yet is all. And is found actually by the spirit, that is imprisoned in sense. Yes, the content of the new age is the coming of a new consciousness on mankind. We are in the dawn of a new age, not because there is an atom energy which man can use or misuse, not because there is only a balance of international life which is being changed and some sort of harmony and some sort of understanding is being attempted to maintain the precarious peace. It won't be disturbed. There is no fear. A great consciousness is already at work. It is trying to come to mankind. Some great discovery has been made, and that a promise is given that if man only opens, oh, we say, but then the new age, how will it all these are symptoms. It is open to those who feel that the new age must have its psychological content for them to try to create a life for its mold. The problem for us here is on earth how to create a mold to have that life. Old mold will not hold it. Don't go after the old mold, it won't hold it. It is not possible. It has to be changed. And the change is psychological. It has not to be changed by outside, by breaking things. It has to be changed by creating and evoking an inner force in creating a mold here of life in which the inner life of man and its movement towards his inmost truths find the first place, first priority. And economics, science, commerce, everything else in its proper place. First thing first. And it is this bringing of a new element in man's life which is the real symptom of the new age. New age is psychological in its content, and the dawn of the new age is the coming of a new truth on mankind, a truth beyond his intellectual consciousness. the truth which he calls the supermind, or truth which he names as the truth consciousness trying to come and press itself upon mankind. That is the content of the New Age. That is the dawn of the New Age. New Age is a psychological change in man by bringing about the difference, or by changing the values of life, so that life moves around another center than it has been moving up till now. That would be perhaps the real content of New Age. It is not easy task. I have already told you in 3 or 4 talks that we had that it requires aspiration, rejection, and surrender. And it is not as if it was only for the mere asking that it would come. I wanted today to talk to you about the difficulties of putting a new mold of life into actual existence in the prevailing conditions of our life today. But I think that I must postpone to some other time. I will deal with the difficulties of creating new life so that the new age may be inaugurated. New age is already there. How we can take advantage of it by creating a new mold so that it may manifest itself in our life and become the beginning of the new age. You see, new age is somewhere, but in order that it may be here, we have to give it a place and create a mold. Well, it is not easy. It is very difficult uphill task. But we are not alone in it. The promise which this great seer has given by having a look merely not at the vision of the truth, but also look at the conditions prevailing here and the way to change it. Therefore, he gave us a promise that you have aspiration, you reject what is to be rejected, which stands in the way of aspiration, and you surrender to that truth, it will work itself out. The greater part of the work is to be done by the truth that is coming. We are not unhelped in this task. That is our greatest advantage and greatest, you can say, consolation in one sense. If it was only man who had to do the whole job, probably we would have said, well, it will be a work of several centuries. But it is man is not left alone in this task. He has to play his part, then the truth consciousness that is coming will play its part. And it is the working of that consciousness which is the more important element of the dynamics of the new creation. The new creation will be ushered in by man wanting it. Then that truth will itself create its own mold. We have to create here a condition in which it can come down. It will create its own mold and form that is necessary. Working through human being and human agency. Well, how far we are prepared or capable, how far we can put in our effort, well, depends upon our decision. I am here to try to make out some sort of a case for this possibility and desirability and put before you as much as possible or as much as I can the rationality of it. The rest of it, well, we must leave it to the spirit that is at work in every one of us and above all of us. I think that in the working of that spirit, someday, if not now, no good effort is lost, as so many people are making effort. We can also make one effort and see whether the new age can embody here the new psychological content of a new consciousness moving around the fulfillment of inner life of man as the first priority of individual and collective